What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fan Awakens. I hope you guys are ready for this one because it's going to be fun. We've got a Star Wars fantasy draft going on today. We're going to be drafting the movies, much of the shows, leaving a couple things off just for the sake of sanity and all. But I got my guy Parade here from ReignCore. How you doing, man?
What's up, guys? I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. It's always
Pleasure
a good time
to have you. So this is how it's going to go. We're going to go pick for pick. I do have home field advantage here, and so I'm going to let my guest from ReignCore go ahead and go first. Before that, though, we have been doing Acolyte reviews on the ReignCore channel. So if you've been watching the show, if you haven't, if you're interested in what's going on there and how we're feeling, go check it out. We're having a ton of fun. So go check out his channel. It'll all be linked below. But a few more things for this particular video. I want to know, whose list would you guys rather go with? So as we go through this, at the end, we're going to have a list of 11 each. And if you could only watch one of our lists for the rest of time, whose would you pick? Let us know in the comments below. We are going to be keeping score, and winner gets nothing. But
winner gets
pride.
nothing, but pride. Yeah, you guys definitely put like the Fan Awakens list is better, or the ReignCore list is better. And going back to the Acolyte too. If you're not enjoying the Acolyte, come watch our reviews because they're actually more fun than the episodes of the Acolyte. Me and Eli having a great time.
I tend to agree. Whether you like it or not, you might have more enjoyment if you don't. But either way, go watch them. They're a lot of fun. We like some things, we don't like some things. We go all over the place.
Yeah. Real quick, can we do a fit check? I think you got a Star Wars shirt on.
Yeah. We absolutely can. My shirt isn't anything special, but I have this Star Wars The Last Jedi shirt I got when I went to see it. On the back, it has like the list and dates of each movie up to that point.
Nice. I'll shamelessly plug ReignCoreClothing.com. I'm rocking a personal design that I've made. Long live the Empire. So if you want to grab one of those shirts, as low as $19.99, and we have a July 4th sale coming up. So make sure you get on the Instagram, check out the site, support the channel. It helps me and Eli out quite a bit.
I am quite a fan of those shirts. I have many of them, and hopefully we'll get another one when that July 4th sale goes on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what? I got to put you on the clock, man. We've got you on the clock.
What's my time limit?
For the number one pick of the 2024 Star Wars Fantasy Draft.
ReignCore has picked Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. It was too hard not to pick The Empire Strikes Back. Best in the original trilogy, best of the movies. And I think this will help the ReignCore team win the whole thing.
From a certain point of view.
Here's
the thing. That's an excellent pick. I mean, it's the odds-on favorite, right?
Odds-on favorite,
now, this is a struggle. We've talked about this. Like, are we trying to go for the dub? Are we speaking with our heart? Is it a bit of both? I think it's got to be a bit of both.
It's a bit of both.
Unfortunately,
I'll admit, if it was just my rankings, it's not my number one. I'm going for the voters here. Voters, pick my list. You want to keep watching Empire Strikes Back? Pick my list.
Here's the thing for me. I would be in shambles if I didn't take my Homer pick for number one, just because I can't live without it being on my list. If someone's like, "Hey, did you see the Fan Awakens list?" and like, "Yeah," and this wasn't on it, I would be not able to continue.
And I know some of your lists, so we could be sniping as we go down these 11.
That's why I'm taking it first, because I have to have it. It's like anything else I can leave off. But my second overall pick is going to be The Force Awakens. It's my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. I've seen it the most. I don't know what else I can say about it. I mean, look at my background. It's all Force Awakens. The Fan Awakens, The Force Awakens. It all derives from this. So that has to be there. So that's my number 2.
I love it. So that actually puts me at somewhat of a conundrum, because I'm looking at 2 titles here, very close titles that are synonymous to each other. And what do I pick of the 2? Which ones would get me this dub? Oh God! And I know you would pick.
My next pick is probably hinging on this. And
I think so. because in my opinion you reached, because okay, so mind you, me and Eli, we just talked about it. We're fantasy champions
We
in
are
the NFL. I'm a two and a half
two and a half.
champion. Two and a half. So I won 2 on 2, right?
Okay.
And then my ex, when she was in her fantasy, I just pretty much took over her team and beat her office team. So 2.5 is how
So
I got.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but I've won 3. Here's the
Oh, you
thing
got
though.
some scrubs in
Here's the
here.
thing. The last year I didn't play, but I did coach my brother on the draft, and he got last
Okay.
place. So I don't want my hands on that, but I do want to just put that out there. I have wet the bed before. So
Oh man. Yeah. No, I feel that. Okay, so because you reached, I'm gonna reach a little bit, and I can't live, and I hope your audience also can't live without watching Andor for the rest of time.
that was gonna be
I mean,
mine.
I saw him like, let me just grab it now. I like, I'm super happy that you went low. I'll take Empire and Andor any day of the week on this list. That's all the movies I need to watch. That's it. That's all the movies, all the shows. We can just end it now.
You have the best storytelling on your list already. That's gonna
Yes, sir.
hurt. I really wanted Andor, and I almost took it first because I
Yeah.
knew, but I'm like, I take it
Andor
first.
is my number one overall everything right
Yeah.
now in Star Wars. So it was hard to pick Empire, but I'd rather grab the Empire and go with Andor number 2. What's your number 2?
My
Fan
number
Awakens.
2. This is tough. I am gonna roll back into the into the movie space. I'm going to the movie space.
Okay.
And see, when I go here, I'm of 2 minds of this. Because there's 2 options that I'm kind of torn between, and what are they? You already have one of them. So what could they be? I'm gonna go with episode 6. I'm going to Return of the Jedi. I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna go with episode 4.
Okay.
But I think you love episode 6. I recently saw it in theaters again when it re-released, and recently, that's probably a year ago now.
Yeah.
I don't know when it was, but either way, it really brought out the emotions in me. It's the send off of the original trilogy, that Vader versus Luke culmination fight at the end, the John Williams score swelling up. It really gets me in my feels. So I'm gonna go with episode 6. I think a lot of people have great memories of that one. I do as well. That's
Little
my
goosebumps just you talking about it again, because episode 6 is my favorite Star Wars movie. When I think of Star Wars, I think of Jabba's palace, the cantina, all the aliens, the ReignCore fight, Luke with force choking people, the green saber. Come on now, it's one of the best, if not the best.
excellent.
All right, in fantasy you don't go homer picks. I'm a San Francisco 49er fan. You don't go all Niners in fantasy draft. You need to pick winners. And if I want to win and I need to win the audience over, we got to go Rogue One. Everyone loves Rogue One. It's hard to beat that third act. Again, not my personal top 5, surprisingly, but Rogue One is no doubt really good. I love the cast. I cosplay Baze Malbus. Sure, Imwe's a great character. That third act is peak, but it's a great movie.
You're getting all the writing, people. Man, you got the gritty, dark storytelling on your side.
Don't let me take that 4th one. Don't let me take the next one, Eli. You better grab one of your favorites because it's about to go away on my next turn. So
I feel like as much as I feel like I have to get a heavy hitter here. This isn't. I have my draft board written out, right? I'm going against that right now, because of the way this is played out. And I'm gonna go ahead and go with Clone Wars. I think with the Clone Wars, the thing you get with the Clone Wars is that brought a lot of fans around on the prequels who weren't previously prequel folk, right? You also have so many seasons of it. You have a lot of storytelling there. You got Darth Maul, you got Dooku, you got Grievous, you got Ahsoka. You got a lot of greatness, and you've had a lot of things come from that. Other things on this list. I think the Clone Wars, and I love it. I love the Clone Wars. When they released the last season, I was like, man, this should have been in a theater. The animation is incredible. So Clone Wars, my personal 3rd pick right there. What say you?
That's actually pretty good because that's a lot of content.
It is.
If you can only watch one of these lists, I'll give it to you. but it was only created, Eli, to enhance what everyone really loves, especially in 2023, 2024. The
Oh, you
memes that go
dare.
crazy, but you can't turn them against me. I'm picking Revenge of the Sith. I can't believe you let that one slide to me.
Ah!
I can't believe you let that slide because I know you love that movie a lot.
That one did hurt.
Yeah.
That was a, you know what? You got me on that one. You got me on that one.
Got him sleeping. I did 2 lists, Eli. I did my personal ranking and our draft one, and I got actually the top 4 that I wanted so far. But Revenge of the Sith,
Hey.
I'll admit, as a child growing up during that time, the prequels are not my favorite. I really dislike them. They've aged better, I guess, with memes, with the Clone Wars, everything that came after, kind of helping it out. Hayden Christensen, beloved Star Wars actor now, and going back, it is a fun watch. Just watching, Palpatine do his thing. Your Uncle Sheev, man, how did you let that?
Hey, look. I do have episode 6, Sheev is that's his big moment, right?
Yeah.
That one did slip through my grasp. That one is fairly unexcusable.
Where's it on your list, if I can ask? Is it coming close, or did you?
It was listed as far as like on my board or like on my personal.
Yeah.
On my board.
No, on your board.
Yeah, it was 5th.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 5th on there. We're obviously that was the 7th pick. So
yeah,
I did have it higher, and I went against that for the Clone Wars. Something I instantly regretted. But hey, doesn't mean everyone else regrets me not going with that pick. All right, I'm gonna go with I feel like I gotta go with my heart again here.
Okay.
This is maybe my first, maybe my second favorite all time that wrestles with The Force Awakens.
Okay.
And that's taking it back to the beginning, man. Gotta go with episode 4, A New Hope.
Nice.
It's where it all began. It's not where my journey with Star Wars began, but ultimately, I grew up with the prequels, and then I watched the original trilogy back in the day, but when the prequels were coming out, I'm like, no, man, these are so much better. And I think it was around high school that I was rewatching the originals, and I got kind of a new appreciation for them, and episode 4 became my favorite until episode 7 came out. So I'm gonna roll with that. I think we're gonna have some folks who got some sentimental value. Maybe it's the first one they watched, so they got them into it.
Yeah.
So we're rolling episode 4.
It definitely was my first. I remember my dad, just randomly, because I didn't know anything about Star Wars when I was a kid. I want to say I was probably like under 7 or 8, and he pulled out a VHS tape that said Star Wars on it. I popped it in, and my mind was just completely blown after that. The first watch, I was like, well, this is a cool universe. I want to, pretend I'm a Jedi. Luke Skywalker's my guy. Love New Hope. And that, you actually sniped my next pick, which is fine. Just fine. But I got to go with the new hotness. We got to go with new hotness. Again, not this high on my personal list, but again, we're trying to get that dub. We're going The Mandalorian. You can't beat Pedro Pascal. You can't beat Giancarlo Esposito.
Baby Yoda himself.
Baby Yoda himself, Grogu. Din Grogu.
I apologize.
Bo-Katan, the whole crew is there. 3 seasons, season 3, a little shaky. Season 2 is great. I mean, you get Luke Skywalker back at the end of season 2, showing up and saving the day once again. But that's my pick, Mandalorian, season 1, 2, and 3.
I told you before we started this video that I had a feeling I might throw my list out halfway through. We are, 9 picks in out of 22. So we're about at the halfway mark, and I do feel fairly confident that my list is no longer that much of a factor. I'm purely picking based off my heart now. And because I think the Mando at 9, I feel like is a steal of the draft. I feel like that's a really. I mean, you have 2 steals here. Episode 3, Mando back to back, pretty great. Now,
champion shows up, shows out. Champ.
we shall see. But I'm gonna roll with
when you pitched this to me, I did say that the bottom half of the list is a lot harder to decipher than the top half of the list.
I
So
agree.
now here's where the crowd will have to decide, like, okay, well, maybe Eli's second half is stronger
Yeah.
than,
And
Parade's. So
that's tough because you can have a list that I don't particularly like, but if like The Force Awakens and A New Hope are on there,
you're like,
it's on a weighted scale. You know what I mean? I'm like, wait a minute.
I know. I think they're gonna see Empire and Rogue One, and they'll be like, Eli's done. It's over.
You know what? We're gonna keep finding a good fight here, though. And
Yeah,
my next
for sure.
pick. See, I'm torn between two of them, and I think I'm gonna have to go with the content side again. And I'm gonna bring in Rebels.
Wait.
I'm bringing in Rebels into the frame. I'm doubling up on the animation. Look, I think so.
No!
I know you love
That was
some
my
Rebels.
next one. I was like, please let Rebels fall to me, please.
Here's the thing with
That one
Rebels
hurt.
too. It's one of those shows where it starts off a little slow, as
Yeah.
Filoni shows tend to do, but it has so much heart, and you love those characters. And I feel like with the Clone Wars and Rebels on my side, I covered pretty much the vast array of the animation categories. I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good.
That was good, man. That was good because I was gonna grab Rebels. I was like, Eli's not gonna take Rebels here. There's so many more. There's so many more prequel movies on this list. I know you love the movies so much, but Rebels is my favorite animated show. It was actually my favorite show and Star Wars thing for a while because you have this cast of characters. You have 2 Jedi. You have a great pilot. You have a Mandalorian. You have a new species and an awesome droid. Chopper is my favorite. If you haven't watched Rebels, please watch Rebels. You have the Darth Maul arc.
Yep.
There too. And the Obi-Wan and Darth Maul fight in there as well. Excellent storytelling in Rebels. Hands down my favorite anime.
Some great
Or
Ahsoka stuff
animated.
too.
Great Ahsoka stuff too.
Rex,
Fulcrum.
all of them, yeah, absolutely.
The Ahsoka Vader fight.
Awesome.
The World Between Worlds. It's so good. There's so many good stuff in Rebels. So great pick. Hats off to you.
Why, thank you.
My next pick on my list is going to be a surprise one because there's a lot of things still on this list, but I want to take it now because it was actually a big deal in my childhood. And I'm going the 2003 Tartakovsky Clone Wars. Those shorts and that animation is almost peak Star Wars. That's not canon, unfortunately. And I think it was supposed to be canon, but it is not. Because you have the Grievous fight where he and Mace Windu fighting the super battle droids. You have the ARC Trooper and the clone troopers just going into the city. There's so much cool stuff there in a short amount of time. If you guys haven't watched it, it's great. That's where Asajj Ventress came from. Just the battling in that show is on another level. Those Samurai Jack animation styles is really, really good.
It is excellent. It's pretty iconic. I remember watching it when it came out too. Cartoon Network, I think. And you're right. I feel like it's one of the forgotten pieces of Star Wars, just because it was so long ago and it was pretty short. That there's probably a lot of people who haven't seen it, and they should.
Yeah.
It's a great watch. It's quick. Lots of great introduction to characters that came back.
It's on Disney Plus, so you can watch it there.
Oh, sweet. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Yeah. It's probably like 30 minutes.
Yeah. Quick.
Yeah, easy watch.
All right, so now here's
you guys are getting shaky.
I'm torn between two, and both of them were next to each other on my list anyways. But I'm going to have to roll with this is good. I'm gonna have to roll with The Last Jedi. I think The Last Jedi has obviously it's a controversial pick if you want to say that, but I think that the people who love it with their full heart, and the people who don't like it, well, you know what? I got 5 other picks. Look, the Last Jedi, I watched it like 11 times in IMAX. I watched it a bunch in theaters, and I didn't watch it that much since. It similar to Episode 9 in many ways for me. Or there's moments in that movie that I really love, and then there's moments that I really don't. But it has my favorite Yoda moment of all time when he's talking with Luke and he's talking about failure and we as masters, we are what they grow beyond, and I love all that stuff. I think it does some interesting things. It has big swings, which I've said in our Acolyte reviews. I think whether you like something or not, I do appreciate, if I don't love something or if I do, whatever the case, I do appreciate big swings. I think it took some big ones. So Episode 8 is my
nice. Yeah, and I always get confused. Holdo maneuvers in this one too, right?
Yes.
Holdo maneuver is fantastic. I'm trying to think of what else the throne room fight scene.
Throne room is awesome. I think the design of Crate is really cool as a planet.
Right.
They got
I like Canto Bight. Like, if we're going to talk about like a rich planet or whatever, and people who are more affluent, I think it's a cool scene, or a cool like it's your Las Vegas of Star Wars.
It's nice to see that everything's kind of polished. We don't typically see a lot of that in Star Wars.
Right. Right.
They're with the times.
Yeah, I would. And I don't know if we talked about this, but I would have changed the dog horses, whatever they're called. I can't remember.
The Fathiers.
I would have changed those and added either pod racers or swoop bikes or some kind of like betting on cars and that, because it's affluent, right? So that's what I would have done to make that scene a little bit more reminiscent to the prequels if we need to do that. But not bad of a pick. Here's where I struggle, because is it any given day would I want to watch it, or is it like I take my list and we get rid of everything else? And so I think here I'm switching on my list a little bit, my board, and I think I have to go Phantom Menace. We do get Jar Jar here, but we do get a young Ewan McGregor. We do get we get Padme, we get Qui-Gon Jinn, we get one of my favorites, Watto.
What about Ben Quadraneros?
And the Duel of the Fates scene is just too it pops in your mind, and it's one of just those iconic fight scenes. Darth Maul showing up here, and we talked about this many times. This is Eli's first movie in the theater. This was your first Star Wars, and for me, it was my first Star Wars as well in the theater, because I watched all the original trilogy on VHS because they already had releases before I was born or even old enough. So Phantom Menace holds a very special place in my heart. Don't think it holds up as great now. It's probably one you can actually skip if you had to do the whole Star Wars rewatch, in my opinion, but it's hard to not include Darth Maul in anything. So
quick interjection, because I will say Phantom Menace is the first movie I remember going to in theaters, like you kind of mentioned. Got me into Star Wars. Great pick. My skip is number 2. Episode 2 is my skip. I'm just curious, if out of the 1 through 9, what's your skip if you have one? Is it Phantom?
If I'm trying to relay a complete story to someone who doesn't know anything about Star Wars, you skip 1. But I'll just be completely honest, Attack of the Clones is my least favorite Star Wars movie. As a child, like I remember as a kid, I don't even know what age. What year did Attack of the Clones
2002.
come out? I was 12 or 13.
2.
I was 12 or 13, but had enough to understand that rolling in the grass with your girlfriend that you're not supposed to be with was not Star Wars, in my opinion. I was just like, I don't like this whatsoever, and I hated it.
I didn't hate it when I was a kid, because I was like 8, I was 8 years old. And once we got to that Coliseum, man, it was on. I was like,
yeah. If you're going to watch Clone Wars or Attack of the Clones, just get to that scene.
But, it's good. This isn't a hate on episode 2 show, but it's nice that we have a common ground there in the middle of this battle.
But it is not the bottom of my list, though, which is very surprising. But that's my pick. The Phantom Menace.
I feel like I'm gonna go out on my shield here, and I have to. I've started something that I have to see through, and that's animation. And so I'm gonna bring in Tales of the Jedi, which I think is I don't know that it has as big of an audience, but I think the audience that has seen it loves it. Typically, I love it. I thought it initially when it came out, I'm like, oh man, like 15-minute episodes, 13-minute, 18-minute, whatever it is. I don't know about that, but I feel like they conveyed pretty great stories in those times. And I mean, we got some Yaddle lore, which is awesome and was so unexpected. Tales of Jedi, the animation's fantastic. They expanded on Ahsoka in that first episode, which is, we have so much Ahsoka, they could have chosen anyone. I think that's, obviously it's Filoni, so it's not surprising necessarily, but I think they did a great job. Love that show.
Yeah. Good pick. You're definitely strong on the animated side. But Tales of the Jedi, yes. I like the time, the what is it called? The run time on it. Yep. And enhancing Dooku's story. Seeing him with a blue saber was cool. Seeing young Qui-Gon there, it just enhances just the prequels and what we know of those characters. So great pick. Here is where I pick, and I can't believe I'm picking this show. I can't believe I'm picking this over the rest of these movies down here. But I think people like them enough where I think it'll help my list out quite a bit. I'm going Bad Batch.
Oh, did not see that one coming.
And the third season is actually that good. I'm on record saying I don't like Bad Batch season 1, season 2. It's just it feels like filler, a lot of cameos. I wish there was more character development, but we start seeing that in season 2 and into season 3. And at the end of season 3, I actually cared about these guys. I cared about Hunter, Wrecker, Crosshair, Omega. So Bad Batch is my pick. I think I feel more inclined to watch these over the rest of my list, especially if we're going to go like content you can't ever go back to. It might be a mistake, but I feel pretty strongly about the top of my list, so I'll take Bad Batch here.
All right. Bad Batch, solid pick. I'm more of a fan of it than you are, I think, through the first 2 seasons. I think you're right, lots of filler. But I think you're right. The end of season 2, second half of season 2 was a turning point for me. Ended so strong though. So I think that's a solid pick in these later rounds. For me, again, we're at the there's one that I'm gonna make my pick right now, and it's not something that is particularly high on my list. There are other things that are still out there that
I think there's one to me that's obvious that you're gonna pick, but if you're not gonna pick it, that's crazy to me.
You know what? You might be playing mind games with me here, but
no, I don't think so. What are you picking? Search your feelings.
All right.
You know it to be true.
See, this is the moment where I'm like, do I try and scrap together more points, or do I go with my heart at this tail end? And you know what? I think I'm just gonna go with my heart here. This isn't what I was going to pick, but I'm going with episode 9. I'm going to episode 9.
I was wondering when you were gonna grab it. I was like, you're gonna leave it on the board.
Episode 8 was like, if episode 8, I mentioned there's moments I love and moments I really don't. Episode 9 is that times 10 for me. It has some of my favorite moments in all of Star Wars. I love some of these moments. I was an emotional wreck watching that movie, and even now, like as I watch, and that is my record. I watched it 13 times in theaters, but I will say I bought the tickets all in advance. I feel like it has super high highs and super low lows, so it is constantly sort of a tug of war between like what I do and don't like, and so that movie just has me all over the place. But I think it's polarizing in a couple ways. I think that like there's more of us Poe moment is awesome. I love that. It's it's kind of what you expect in the big episode 9 end of the saga, but once you hear the music, and it just gets me. There's moments like when Snap Wexley dies. It's such a small thing, but because of how many times I've watched episode 7, those moments sting. So that's my pick.
And your boy behind you.
Yeah, got my boy Claude. Right. Claude got to show out. Claude.
I think my favorite moment in Rise of Skywalker, I call it the last Airbender moment where all the past Jedi come and talk to her.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan of any of the Clone Wars, you had Freddie Prinze as our boy his name is escaping. As Kanan, his voice is there. Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka's there. They even put together some other nice little voice cameos there. So it was that's one of my favorite moments of Rise of Skywalker for sure.
Story about that. I have a shirt from one of the Celebration stores that's basically that moment. It has Rey, and then it has all the Force ghosts who were saying, who were motivating her in that scene, but they left off Kanan. And I remember at Celebration, I was wearing it, and I mentioned it to Sam Witwer when we were getting it signed. And he was like, who cares? He's like, it was great.
That's awesome.
But yeah, they literally everyone on there. They just forgot Kanan.
That's so jacked up. But yeah, no, cool pick. I'm curious what you would have picked before that, but you could tell me when you get to that pick.
We might see.
Uh, and I would be surprised if you didn't pick Rise of Skywalker. You're a big sequel fan. So here's where we get a little shaky. And I think this next one might surprise you because I've been very down on this piece of media for a while. But it wasn't until recently I went back and I rewatched it with more an unbiased eye and say, what is actually good about this? Because I know people love it. I'm actually picking Solo: A Star
Don't you
Wars Story.
dare.
Solo: Star Wars Story. I watch it. I'm not the biggest fan of Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo. I don't think he fits the mold. Like there's moments where you kind of see it, but I would I'd rather pick what's his face actor from
And Edgerton.
no, not Edgerton. From the
Pratt.
movie. No, the dude from the movie who does the impression of Han Solo or Harrison Ford with what's her name? Blake Lively. Where's the
Oh man.
gosh, I can't believe my brain is not working this
You're good.
today.
You're good.
What is that time travel movie? In that time travel. Dang it. Blake Lively movie.
We're gonna have to. I mean, you can look it up if you got it. I'm gonna talk about Solo for a minute. I actually
go
quite
ahead.
like Solo. I thought the score is fantastic. I listened to a couple tracks fairly regularly. Also, it was nice because I think that's the last movie I went to with my mom because she was always a big Chewbacca fan. And so when I saw it, I'm like, oh, Chewbacca's all over this movie. So I brought my mom, and she had a good time. So Solo holds a nice place in my heart, and I'm quite a fan. First celebration I went to, Aaron Kellyman, who plays Enfys Nest, shot the T-shirt can, and I got that T-shirt. So that's another connection to Solo. Yeah.
Okay, so I found the movie. It's Age of Adeline.
Okay.
And why isn't he in the first thing of credits? There's a guy who I have to find his name because he needs the shout out.
He does a Han Solo impression.
He does young Harrison Ford in that movie, and they even used him in the most recent Indiana Jones movie as one of the stand-ins for like the facial recognition stuff. Yeah, that's how good of a Harrison Ford impressionist he is.
Great.
Let me see. Hold on. Harrison Young.
I can also
because I feel like he needs the shout out. He needs the shout out because I talk about him all the time, and it's a morning. Oh, there he is. Anthony and Gruber. Anthony and Gruber. Watch the clip on YouTube of him doing a young Harrison Ford, and you'll see it. He looks like young Harrison Ford, but he didn't get the role. I think he definitely tried, but he didn't get it, unfortunately. But I went back and watched Solo recently, maybe just a few months ago, and you can't go wrong with Donald Glover as
Lando.
Yeah, you can't go wrong as Lando. And I actually think Emilia Clarke, outside of Game of Thrones, does a good job here. I'm saying she did a good job in Game of Thrones, but I feel like she doesn't take the best projects, or I don't know if it's like the line delivery or whatever. But here I enjoyed Emilia Clarke's presentation. I wish they enhanced this story or used this story in other things. And when we get down to one of the picks, I'll mention that again. But Emilia Clarke's cure is great. I think, man, I'm feeling really dumb today.
You're good, man. You're good.
What's his name? The mentor in the movie.
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson. I was like, Harris? Woody Harrelson does a great job as his character. He's great on screen. So the cast is really good. Story is not my favorite, but there's still enough there to pick from, and it does feel like Star Wars again, like a nice little adventure. But yeah, I picked Solo here. It's not the perfect film, but it was actually a fun watch the second time. I remember my first watch was not as great, but going back and seeing how it's aged over time, it's not as bad as I recall. Even going back to Enfys Nest has a great character design as well. I like the outfit quite a bit.
I agree. Now, again, I think I'm gonna have to roll with the pick that I was on the fence with the last one.
Yeah. I'm curious.
And I was on the fence again, but I'm just gonna roll with it. I'm going Star Wars Visions on this one, sticking to my animation. I gotta try and get the animation sweep. I think that
good pick.
Visions is super hit and miss for me, but I think that's kind of the point. Everybody has all these very vastly different takes with these shorts within each season. But especially season 2, there's that one we always mention, where they have to go into the kids go into the cave, and the girl's been tempted by the dark side, and
Oh
that
yeah, that
gives me
was
chills every
fantastic.
time I watch it. I'm forgetting which episode it is, but
Hold up right now.
I think Visions has a lot. Shout out all the anime fans out there, you know what I mean, giving them some Star Wars flavor. Um, I think Visions has a fan base. I don't like particularly go back to it much. Just it's just not my biggest, the biggest thing. We're at the tail end of the list here, but
Yeah.
I think that Visions has a solid fan base,
Mhm.
and there are a few episodes within both seasons that I really really dig. So that's where I'm going with there. Sticking to the animation.
Yeah, if the episode that we're talking about is Screecher's Reach, episode 2 in season 2. Me and Eli watched all of Visions 2 together, and that one really blew our socks off.
We watched it
We're
like three
like,
times.
what? We had to like stop and get back into the thing. I love Visions. I'm not a big anime fan, and I think what's hard is this is not technically canon, and so I think that a
Yeah,
lot of people don't watch it because of that. But there are a lot of great episodes in season 1 and in season 2. The Ronin episode kicking off season 1, I think, was a great like dip into what they were trying to do, and just the creativity that these studios did with Star Wars. I would love to see more. I've talked about it in our multiple podcasts. Like I would love to see more of that in Star Wars, and it does feel like a nice breath of fresh air.
I
But
agree.
I highly recommend Visions. Great
Same.
pick.
I think there's something
Great.
for everyone within those seasons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, if you want to like kind of piecemeal it out, if it's not your thing, there'll probably be at least one or two things out of those, you know, 20 episodes. Um, so yeah, I have two lightsabers from those.
You do. They're really awesome.
The Ronin one and the other elaborate one from the bunny episode. Okay, so now we're at our last 4 picks, and this gets really tough because Attack of the Clones is here. But do I want to take it? Does it tarnish the list? Oh man, this is hard. This part's hard. It's oh gosh.
I will
Uh,
say I can say the last ones that are left real quick.
yeah, yeah.
And there
Well,
are
I have.
I
Oh,
have
go ahead.
5 here, so maybe
Oh,
one
you have.
just gets left off. I don't know. I just want to, for the sake of, I might have accidentally put something extra on there.
Okay,
Episode
go ahead.
2,
Yep.
Ahsoka, Kenobi, Boba Fett, Tales of the Empire.
I can't believe I don't have Ahsoka on my list. Ahsoka is on. I'm picking Ahsoka.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
I
may
was
have
like,
just, but
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah,
fairness, when you said 4, I'm like, wait a minute, I have one extra on
yeah.
here.
No, that's good because I probably would have picked Ahsoka over
Yeah,
Solo, but that's fine because I'll take Ahsoka here.
cool.
So I'll take Ahsoka here. It is Rebels season 5 or 6 or whatever it is. Rosario Dawson does a great job as Ahsoka. I mean, to me, she's not the fun Ahsoka we know from the Clone Wars, but she doesn't do a bad job on screen. Like she definitely has a presence. It's not exactly the Rebels team that I want to see in live action. Like it wasn't exactly the 1-to-1 that I would have liked to seen. However, the villains that they introduce, Balin Skull, Shin, the cinematic feel of that world is great. But some of the cons, it doesn't completely destroy the show. I would watch Ahsoka over Solo and Bad Batch if I had it on my list, but I'm surprised that it got through. But I'm glad to pick it as long as it's. I'm glad to pick it without missing over it because I'm kicking myself now that I didn't have it on my list. It's on my ranked list, but not on my draft list.
Here's the thing with Ahsoka too. I think you're right. I think there is a Zeb-sized hole missing in this show. I think Zeb just provides a lot to that team in terms of like just the feel of them, right? And especially you don't have Kanan anymore, and I get it. It's Ahsoka. It's not Rebels technically,
Right.
although it basically is.
Basically is.
But
Well,
I
I mean,
like
like even
Ahsoka too.
Ezra too. So you have like a lot of the lightheartedness of that team isn't there,
Yep.
and so you're missing that component. But again, it is an Ahsoka show, so hopefully we get. I don't know if we'll get a live actions Rebels. I mean, would be happy with another animated season of Rebels, but for Star Wars. I like something better than nothing, even if it's bad sometimes.
I agree. I liked Ahsoka as well. I thought Balin was awesome. Shin's great. Like great new characters. And some of those episodes really were great. Seeing the space whales in live action really did it for me. I was really into it, man.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
So
Okay,
yeah.
so what's left now? So
So
episode
yeah,
2.
episode 2, Kenobi, Book of Boba,
Uh,
and Tales of the
uh,
Empire.
okay, so now we're at 4. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
so
We're
there's
good.
gonna be one left out or one extra. We'll see how that plays
I
out.
don't
But
know how we. Yeah, that was
I
weird
thought
that
we
we missed.
counted it out too, but I must have.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did
No,
something
we're good.
there. So my next pick, though, we're down to the bottom of the metaphorical barrel, if you will. Uh,
I
I
think I know which one I would pick, but I was definitely going for points. But I know what I picked after you. I'm pretty sure, unless you take it.
you know what? As much as I want to go in a different direction, I think I am going with episode 2
Okay.
because while it may be my least favorite of the episodics, I do know multiple people in my life who have it as their number one. And so I think there are some things there. Obviously, the Coliseum battle is awesome. I think that if you're into the whole Padme Anakin stuff, this is great. This is the
Yeah,
holy
yeah, yeah.
grail. You know what I
Actually,
mean?
okay. Yeah, you're right. I was gonna say get those people out of your life. Another, but I think it does. I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but I feel like it does. It's more for like that romantic fan, right? The more of the ladies. Like I know a lot of girls who love Queen
I
Amidala.
love
Padme.
me some rom coms, but even the bad ones, I watch a lot of them.
Sure,
But
they're good time.
I think episode 2, you have great theme work. That John Williams was on his game. The Dooku fight, but we get to see a little crazy Yoda flipping around.
Yep.
So that's fun.
Surprising at the time. Very surprising at the time.
We get probably the creepiest Anakin we ever get for sure.
Yeah.
But some memes there, right?
A lot of memes.
A lot of memes.
I hate sand.
I hate sand. I mean, that's one of the biggest. One of the current
Hayden
memes.
Christensen's he's in Star Wars, you know.
So
like that's
I'm rolling
his
episode
intro.
2. I feel like I don't know if I'd call it a steal per se, unless it's one of those folks I know who's like, "How did you wait till the end?" But yeah, I'm roll with episode 2.
Okay. Well, if that's I'm glad you made that decision easy for me because that was the one I was battling with. What's actually at the bottom here, and and here at this point, I'm gonna go with my heart over what I think the fans would have picked. But I'm picking Book of Boba Fett here.
That was the one I was torn between.
And the reason being, I know people don't like this show. I actually like it. Cons obviously like kind of the silliness of it. It wasn't. Marketing said it was going to be something different. We talked about it, Eli, where it's like, oh, this is this dark underground gang show, and we don't really get that. I feel like Disney marketing always likes to lie so we get more eyes on it.
They do.
We got the motorbike kids. People like them. They're not as bad as like Lizzo and Jack Black, especially nowadays. But the Book of Boba Fett has Tamora Morrison, and he's great on screen. Having Boba Fett and kind of exploring that story, I like the beginning of it. I like Fennec Shan here. And we get live action Cad Bane. Black Chrysanthemum's a cool Wookiee. I really like that.
Those Mandalorian episodes were something special.
The Mandalorian episodes, in my opinion, are the best Mandalorian episodes. And we get Luke in the black suit again. And when I first watched that, I was like sobbing. It emotionally grabbed me with Luke training Grogu and talking about his master and Yoda teaching him, and that stuff is amazing. Even the CG work on CG Luke is still really good, and it actually still holds up in my opinion. But Book of Boba Fett, even though it's the lowest on my list, it's higher. But I'm happy to have it on my list for sure.
Well, I think this could probably be the last pick, so it's even, right? We'll leave one off. I'm gonna roll with Kenobi. I'm gonna roll with my guy Kenobi over Tales of the Empire.
Be surprised if you're gonna take Tales and leave Kenobi.
Yeah, I'll leave Tales of the Empire. Great animation. The stories were not it for me. Here's my Kenobi argument. Yeah. I think that it's still Ewan back, and no matter what, I wasn't fond of Kenobi, but it's awesome seeing Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan. You get to see our first time seeing Hayden back in that little flashback scene. Which is great there. I thought even though it didn't make sense story-wise to have him gallivanting off with Leia, they had some good moments together. We found out Obi-Wan had a brother. Maybe we're gonna get a spin-off. But that's the bottom of my list there. So I really have to shrink this down so we can see them all. But
could I just put in a little bit for Kenobi?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't mind it. it's not, it's definitely at the bottom of my TV show list.
Yeah.
Because there was so much wasted potential. I feel like the pacing was a little off. You could have put Riva's reveal of why she's on this tear earlier, and I think it would kind of help watch her character and stomach, the delivery and the acting that she's doing. I don't think any of the actors are bad. It's just the way the story is edited, and presented. There's a lot of cool stuff there, especially having Ewan McGregor back on screen is awesome. And the actress who plays young Leia is great too. I loved seeing Alderaan for the first time. I thought
Real
that was
nice.
great. I just there like, even I know people really like that Vader Kenobi scene, but that goes back to Rebels. It just even feels like a copy and paste of Ahsoka versus Vader, so it didn't feel as original or as great as it could have been. And I didn't need another Obi-Wan Kenobi fight, especially when they could have just
I
offed
didn't
each other
either.
there. So that's why Kenobi's low on my list. If you guys enjoy it, if you enjoy any of these that are low, I'm happy for you. Especially like we're getting not everyone's loving the Acolyte. We're not ones who are loving it, but again, these things aren't ruining Star Wars. They enhance it in different ways. And as a fan, again, as a Star Wars fan, I'd rather have maybe something bad than nothing at all. Because growing up, when Revenge of the Sith dropped, I was like, cool, that's it for Star Wars. And I like wiped my hands and walked away for 20 years.
It's fun to do this too, because like I mean, I would kill to have Andor on my list. And there's certain things that, like, man, the dropping episode 3 was tough. So like we just listed off, and we left things off 22 different projects, and I think a lot of them we had strong cases for why we really like or love them. I think that's pretty great in this franchise that has been going since the 70s, and it's still going. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty happy with my list. I would take. Would you take your own list? You know what I mean? I think. Let me take a look.
I'm very happy with my list.
I would too, for sure. I mean, I'm movie heavy, and I have the movies that I rewatch the most.
Yeah, you're big on the prequels here. I mean, I have Andor, and I'm really happy that I was like, it was either going to be Empire or Andor, and I'm surprised you let one of them come back to me. But I mean, on my list, I got most of the ones that I wanted up top.
Yeah.
So the way I have it ranked, I feel pretty good. Vote for the ReignCore list.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know whose list you rock with the most. Whose would you pick if you had to? You go on a deserted island, you can only have one list on that DVR. Who's you picking? Also, what do you think was the steal of this draft? What was the steal in your opinion? I'm really excited to hear what people feel about that. But I'm going to be tallying these up.
Yeah. Go ahead and recap your list really quick, just for everybody.
Yeah. So, my first place list is The Force Awakens, Return of the Jedi, Clone Wars, A New Hope, Rebels, The Last Jedi, Tales of the Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, Visions, Episode 2, and Kenobi.
Not bad. My list is Empire Strikes Back, Rogue One, Andor, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, The Mandalorian, Tarkovsky's 2003 Clone Wars, Ahsoka, Bad Batch, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Solo, and Book of Boba Fett.
Pretty great list. Pretty great list. You know what I want to do too? This was a lot of fun. I had a great time doing this. I feel like next time we need to do it with 4 people and make it even tougher.
Just like only, what is that? Only like 6-7 episodes per person.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. You're really gonna be scrapping there and really having to prioritize. This was
especially and then we do a snake. Oh man, like 1, and then what is that, like 8 or 9?
Yep.
Oh boy, that would be a scrap. That would be. I'm like,
we're going episode by episode for like Clone Wars episode season 3, episode 6.
They'd be like, I have Empire Strikes Back, but I also have like, whatever, Solo would be their next one or whatever.
Yeah.
Or something low.
That'd
be rough. That'd be rough.
It would be
but
rough.
No, I'm happy with my list. I think on a deserted island, I would definitely watch the ones I picked. But yeah, this was fun. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you again. thank you guys for watching. If you like this content, hit that subscribe button. I'm gonna have all the links posted below for my socials, for ReignCore socials, and his YouTube channel. Also, make sure you keep an eye out for those ReignCore clothing. They got a lot of good stuff on there. And honestly, that July 4th deal, you're gonna be getting shirts for cheaper than you would at the store. You know what I mean? And they're quality shirts. Washed them a bunch. They hold up. So couldn't recommend those more. But that's probably going to be it for us. You know, we got 2 strong lists here, and I'm excited to keep watching the Acolyte, reviewing that on your channel. Thank you for being here. And with that being said, I think it's time to punch it.
Punch it, Chewy. Boom. Bye, guys.